What's new on the Burlington waterfront? Hey, now it's happening at the waterfront on Lake Champlain. Whatever the weather, there's so much to do on the new waterfront, the Burlington waterfront.
Welcome to On the Waterfront. I'm your host, Mariah Riggs, and this month I'm so excited to have Susan Evan McClure, who is the Executive Director of the Vermont Arts Council, on the show with me.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Mariah. Great to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. To tell our viewers a little bit, just to kind of get into it, some of you are probably very familiar, but for those of you who are not, what does the Vermont Arts Council do?
Yes, well, the Vermont Arts Council is the state's arts agency. So actually every state in the country and every jurisdiction has an arts council that's funded by the National Endowment for the Arts and the state in which they operate. So there's 56 state and jurisdictional arts councils. The Vermont Arts Council is the only one that actually operates as an independent nonprofit. So we were created in state statute to act as the state's arts funding agency, and we operate as a nonprofit. We're one of the quasi-state agencies. We get to be a little of both. But our mission is really about ensuring that all Vermonters have access to the arts in their lives, in their education, and in their communities. And we do that through grant making. We take federal, state, and private funding, and then we distribute that through lots of grant programs to artists and organizations and communities. And then we also do a lot of behind-the-scenes work to support artists and arts organizations to help them do their best work and make sure that they can exist in this very complicated world we're in. And we do a lot of state arts advocacy to ensure that the arts and creativity and the creative sector are at the table for the state's most important policy conversations.
Well, Vermont has an incredibly dynamic art scene. We definitely hit above our weight, population and size-wise, with how many arts are embedded in communities around the state. I can imagine that that's kind of wonderful with the Vermont Arts Council, because pretty much every town has its own little micro arts community within it in the state of Vermont, which I found, like, traveling around the country, is particularly unique to Vermont. Like, it's amazing the amount of pocket artists that are, like, located within different towns all across the state of Vermont. Which has got to be great for you, because we're such an engaged local community everywhere.
Totally. And it's one of the really fun parts of my job and my role is to get to travel all around the state, see what's happening in every community and town. And you are absolutely right. We are on top of many state lists of the most fill in the blank per capita. So the most working writers per capita, I think we're at the top of that list. We're often high up on the other artistic forms too. There's something unique and special about Vermont that I think it builds creativity, enhances creativity, and draws creative people here. So we do, I love that phrase that you use, punching above our weight class. We definitely do. We're a tiny state and we just have a lot of the arts and creativity.
Well, I think we also appreciate it.
That's true.
I think we have a culture that embraces the arts and also knows the importance of the arts and how that's a huge thing that I always have to explain to people, is that the arts are an incredible economic driver. One of my favorite things that the Vermont Arts Council has done recently is it did an economic study for the state on the value of the creative arts on our economy. And it's one of actually the most important cornerstones of the Vermont economy.
Yeah, that is true. We, in the last round of that research, we contributed $1.2 billion of the state's economy every year comes from the creative industries. So that could be anything from a graphic designer, a museum, an artist, a painter, a fine woodworker, any industry that has creativity at its heart. And that is actually not my definition, as much as I would like to take credit for that. The Bureau of Economic Analysis actually has an arts and culture specific account for economic data and economic impact. So they deliver that report to us annually. I should say that they did. They have recently stopped doing that due to some budget cuts at the BEA. Okay. We're hoping that it returns, because it is a really important data point to really put some numbers on what we see, right? Like, we being Vermonters, people who are in community, you don't necessarily need that number to go outside and see that there is an art market on Saturday mornings, or you're buying a local present from the art store that's in your downtown. But those numbers are helpful when we're making the case that we're an important part of the state's economic growth.
Yeah, but in a lot of small towns, the Arts Center is like one of the hubs of that town.
Exactly.
And we have a lot of really small communities, and those art hubs tend to be sort of the focal point of where those communities focus. And it's such an integral part of like the fabric of our state.
Exactly. So those cultural hubs are they're about high quality artistic production, but really they're community spaces. They're where people come together through the arts, and where people make art, and where people are spending money in their communities. A lot of times they're also the town center. I'm thinking of actually Pentangle Arts in Woodstock is owned by the town, but it's an independent organization, and that's where they have their town meeting in Woodstock, is at that art center. And that's a pretty common story across the state, is that those blurred lines between what is a municipal building, what is an art space, and what is a community center. In a small town, they're often the same thing.
Which talks about the density that we have of artists across the state.
Exactly.
That's able to feed into that economy. That's probably pretty unique, too, across the country.
I'm a little biased, but I believe it is. I guess one of the other highlights of my job is getting to work with the other, I'm one of the 56, right, executive directors of state arts councils and territorial arts councils. So I get to see and talk to them. They're all amazing people. It is really different in every state. America's kind of 50 small or huge countries. Yeah, exactly. And we all have different rules and laws and policies. And the culture is just different. I mean, even our neighboring states, New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, they all look really different than us in terms of how the arts show up in their communities. There are robust arts programs in all of those states, but it's different than we have here.
Well, or more commercialized. Here it's really homegrown. We have a lot of people who have studios in the back of their house, and that's how they promote their art.
Exactly.
And we also draw on that. It's great. You can be somebody who can live maybe some places more rural and be a self-fulfilling artist.
Yeah. Well, there is something about our geography too, right? We're a very rural state, but we are a driving distance from 3 major metropolitan areas, right? New York City, Boston, and Montreal. You can get to, I would say you could get to in a day. That would be a really long day if you went to New York, but you could, right? It's close enough. So that gives our artists who work here, our professional artists, the ability to create and live in Vermont, and then also have access to major markets too, which is great.
Which we have great relationships with all those cities.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're all art hubs. Montreal and New York and Boston are. You couldn't pick 3 better places to actually be near.
Exactly.
Which is great for the art community.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to talk too. The Vermont Arts Council also works as a liaison between the arts and the Vermont state government, which is I know a huge part of like what you guys do. And I wanted to get our viewers a little bit more aware of maybe some of the legislation right now that you guys are currently working on that support the arts in Vermont.
Yeah, so the Vermont Arts Council is the backbone for the Vermont Creative Network, which is a larger umbrella organization of all of the cultural industries in our state. It includes things like the Vermont Historical Society, Vermont Humanities, Vermont Symphony Orchestra, but also businesses that are creative businesses too. So the Vermont Creative Network, one of the pillars of that larger group is really advocacy work. So we are tasked with moving arts and cultural advocacy forward at the state level. This year, that has looked like us focusing on the budget appropriations for the cultural agencies, the Vermont Arts Council, Vermont Humanities, Vermont Symphony Orchestra, and Vermont Historical Society all receive a budget line item appropriation that helps them to be able to do their work. Not in full, I should be really clear. It's a small piece of their overall budgets, but an important one. Yep. So we work together to advocate for that. The real issue that we've taken a lot of time on this year is a bill about the ticket resale market. I don't know the last time you tried to buy a ticket to a live event, maybe a concert or a sporting event. You went online, you looked up what you wanted to see, where it was. 10, 15 websites come up that are not the website of the actual venue. Wow. There are ticket resale websites that are trying to get you to buy a resold ticket instead of buying directly from the primary venue. Yeah. That means that there's resale corporations who are making money off of this, and it's not the artists in Vermont, it's not the venues in Vermont.
No, not at all.
So the legislature was looking into how to address this problem, and we worked along with a coalition of arts venues and sports venues, performing arts venues across the state throughout this whole legislative session, which as of taping is still going, to really craft some legislation that would work here for our size and our scale. That legislation has passed the House and it's passed the Senate, and it is currently on the governor's desk, and we are hoping that he will be supportive of it. Yeah, it's really exciting.
Congratulations, because that is the middlemen in the ticket infrastructure is terrible. I mean, they're just taking 3-5% cuts.
That would be a best case scenario of 3 to 5%. Sometimes it's 400, 200. You know, tickets
what do they call it? Fleecing. That's like when you fleece tickets.
Exactly.
Isn't that what they used to call it?
So this bill will the kind of core tenets of the bill is that it will ban the speculative ticket sales. What we actually see, it's shocking when you say it out loud, but there's a lot of instances where someone will try to resell a ticket that they don't even have yet for a show that hasn't even gone on sale yet. So that's speculative ticket sales.
Wow.
The bill outright bans those for everyone.
Yeah.
The bill also puts some limitations on what resale ticket websites can say about venues. Right now, they say things like, 2 tickets left, going fast, when there will be a full house of tickets available at the venue.
Wow.
So the bill limits their ability to do that. And then most importantly, the bill makes it so that any ticket resale website can only list a ticket for 10% above the original face value.
Okay.
So meaning that they can't anymore sell a ticket through one of these resale websites for, a $50 ticket for $300. That's not allowed anymore. Yes. What was really important to the legislators through this process was to make sure that individuals have a little more flexibility. So the bill's really focused on ticket resale websites and their ability to use their incredible wealth and the amount of money on ads that they have to trick you. That was really the focus of the bill.
Well, it's also unsuspecking consumers.
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems like consumer protection legislation.
It definitely is. We know that actually another study that came out 2 years ago looked at how much money people spend on top of the price of their ticket when they go to a live event in Vermont, which we have done. The last time I went to see a show in Burlington, I spent a lot of money.
Economic impact
exactly.
is a really important part of the creative sector.
Yes.
We talk about all the time. Like if you bring the creative arts here, restaurants make money, hotels make money, people are out doing things, they're spending money in your local community.
Exactly. And when your ticket costs $200 instead of $50, you're less likely to spend that money in your local community. So we are really encouraging this bill. I'm really encouraged because this bill will make tickets more affordable for people, hopefully allow them to see more live music, live concerts, sports, stop people from getting tricked into
access
money,
is a real problem. It comes up a lot, even just where I work, that ticket sales are expensive, and so it seems cost prohibitive to a lot of markets that can't afford the ticket.
Exactly.
And so what you're doing is you're dissuading people from going to some of the concerts and some of the wonderful opportunities that they can see here in Vermont.
Yeah. The Flynn had a kind of unbelievable story where but it was true. They posted on Facebook the show and the cost of the ticket, and someone replied, "This must be fake. That's not how much the tickets cost." And then they said, "Well, where were you looking at them?" And had to kind of go back and forth with this patron to say, that was not our website that you saw. The other thing that's happening right now is the resale websites are using the logos of the venues. The bill also makes that no longer allowed.
Terrifying.
It is, right?
Because that's it's false advertising.
It completely is, yes.
And that would be kind of like this huckster kind of like terrible thing back in the day. It seems like it's probably more prevalent now with like online access and stuff.
It just has kind of the power of the internet behind it, right? Like that's unfortunately how a lot of the internet works, right? You have the ability, it used to be harder. You know, if you were a guy standing outside a concert holding up 2 fingers, there was only so much you could do.
You had those 2 tickets and like somebody was desperate to get in, it's a little different.
So, but when you have a giant corporation who owns a resale ticket resale corporation who has investors and whoever owns these giant corporations.
Yeah, it's economy of scale.
Exactly, yeah. So they're not making all their money off of one ticket, but every ticket that they sell a little bit of, hundreds of thousands of millions around the world.
And they just have an algorithm. They plug it in, they search for events, and then they just can kind of create those sites out of hand.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we are seeing, right, is the ability of, I didn't mean for this to turn into like a tech terror conversation.
I don't know how two people in the arts ended up talking about tech for.
Well, wait a minute, wait till I tell you that, right, AI can scrape someone's website and create a duplicate website pretty much with the push of a button. So, there's nothing right now. Hopefully the governor will sign the bill, and as of July 1st, I will not be able to do this. But right now I could, use AI to duplicate your website and then resell tickets from your website to kind of unsuspecting consumers. So we've had great partnership.
Which is a form of fraud. I mean, from any sort of legal standpoint,
exactly,
that would be considered fraud.
And we've had great partnership with the Attorney General's office. They've been kind of with us the whole way to make this bill really make sense, be enforceable. That's something we really learned from other states, is the importance of making sure the bill can be enforced by the Attorney General's office.
So go Vermont. We love consumer protections.
We do, yes. And this will be some significant consumer protection that will help not only, it's one of those great things where it's actually what's good for the arts venues is good for our economy is also good for individuals.
Yeah, it's good for everyone.
It's good for everyone.
And a lot of those bad actors are probably from out of the state. One can imagine.
The ones that our venues have tracked down have all been out of state.
Yep, so we're good at keeping people out of here. We're keeping it local.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep our resale local.
Keep our resale local in Vermont. I like that. So, I wanted to, so your role at the council is executive director. And so what exactly does the executive director of the Arts Council do?
Well, it's very seasonally dependent. So for the past 4 months, I spent a lot of time in the legislature working with our elected officials to make sure they know the value of the creative sector to all of us and support that through legislation. I get to work with our amazing team at the Arts Council too. We have a great staff of real experts in arts funding, arts disciplines. Many of our staff members are artists themselves, so they are bringing, no surprise, so they are bringing their kind of artistic expertise to their role as grant makers. And I know many grant funders say on their website, like, call the grants officer with questions, but we genuinely mean it. And our staff are always ready to help and have conversations to really make the application process as accessible as possible, make sure people know the information they need to put forward a successful grant application, and to help them access the funds that are available. The majority of our funds are public. They're from federal and state money. So it's really all of our tax-paying dollars that are supporting this opportunity for artists in our communities. And we want to make sure people have access to it.
And I can say from personal experience, every experience I've ever had with staff at the Vermont Arts Council, they are incredibly knowledgeable. They're there to help you. If you are an artist or anyone in the arts trying to do an interesting project, a workshop, anything like that, reach out to the Vermont Arts Council.
Absolutely, yes,
because they are there to help you and they care.
Oh, thank you.
They really do. I don't say this lightly.
Thank you.
The Vermont Arts Council is really a treasure.
Thank you.
In the state of Vermont. So we all appreciate you guys very much.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. And we couldn't do it without, it makes it easy, right? Well, again, back to what you said earlier, we have amazing artists everywhere, which makes it easier for us to do our jobs too.
And people are engaged. There's a great sense of camaraderie, I feel like, in Vermont between artists. Some art communities tend to be very cutthroat, or they can be very derisive. And in Vermont, people are very supportive. There's that community, everybody gets lifted up together sense, which I love about Vermont. Everybody's there, oh man, you have a kiln. I've been wanting to do this Roku pot for ever, and can I borrow? Oh yeah, come on over on Thursday afternoon.
Exactly.
We'll have tea. We'll do it. I love how Vermonters are very collaborative.
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the best parts of being a rural state is that you actually do need your neighbors because there's not very many of us. So maybe you're the only person with a kiln within 40, 50 miles, right? So that leads to some really good collaboration, camaraderie, just like you said, a support system that you don't find in other places.
No, it's a lovely environment, and the Vermont Arts Council is a big part of that.
Oh, thank you.
You guys have done a great job with that. So I wanted to actually dig in a little bit. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard that there's been a lot of issues on the federal level with art and humanities funding. And so I wanted to talk to you about the current funding and how that's been panning out for the Vermont Arts Council.
Yeah, so of course this is starting last year, it was a kind of time of tremendous upheaval for the entire nonprofit sector and any sector that relies on government funding, right? That used to be a really stable thing that we could all count on, and now it's become pretty clear that that is not the case anymore. At the same time, the National Endowment for the Arts has tremendous support from both sides of the aisle in Congress, and the Trump administration has proposed cutting the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities every year that they have been in office, and the Congress has put that funding back every year. The NEA funds, at one point they were funding in every congressional district in the country. So they really try to spread the federal funding out to the kind of smallest scale to the biggest city. And that means that people can see the impact in their local communities, and we've had a lot of support because of that. So we have been really grateful to receive steady funding, both last year and, well, last year being this year, this is the federal fiscal year stuff, but the year we're in right now, we received federal funding, and next year we're gonna receive steady federal funding, and which means that we can use that money to make grants, invest in the community, provide support services, and really continue focusing on the great work that.
Which I'm sure you got a lot of calls from people, because there was a lot of stories out there.
Yeah.
That you guys were losing. There were a lot of different stories out there, and it's important to supply some clarity to our viewership that that's not necessarily the case as far as like the Vermont Arts Council is concerned.
Yeah, it's been, we are really grateful that that's the case. I know that is not the case for so many other federally funded areas. We work closely with with Vermont Humanities, the Humanities Councils around the country.
Who was on the show just the other day.
Which I was great. I was so excited to see.
The other
They're
month.
Wonderful.
So, I mean, it's nice to hear that, because I knew as soon as people saw articles and they start reading stuff, there was a lot of concern about, because we love the Vermont Arts Council and we didn't want anything to happen to it.
Yeah. And we've had huge support from private funders too, who've wanted to step up and really help us grow our ability to give unrestricted funds or to support individual artists.
So if somebody who's watching this program did want to give to the Vermont Arts Council,
we would welcome it.
where would somebody find, is it on vermontartscouncil.org?
Yes, you can go to vermontartscouncil.org. There's a donate button, and that donation helps us to give more grants to artists and communities all across the state.
So if you want to be on the good side and give money to the arts, go to vermontartscouncil.org and hit the donate button, because everything you give goes back out to every Vermont community. It's actually probably one of the best donations you could do.
Thank you. That is true.
For their impact across the state. I mean, there aren't many state organizations that impact pretty much every community. And I'd say the Vermont Arts Council is one of them.
Thank you. Yeah, last year we did fund in all 14 counties, which was very important to us. So,
which again, a lot of Vermont state organizations can't say. So, and it's a nice way to support some of our local communities, and as sort of like these vortexes in the center of communities that create like hyper local. Third space community placement. Yeah. And that fosters those communities and help them do things within their communities. It's not like people are just, bedroom communities. They have like actual energy happening, within their local borders.
And it helps, we talked about the economic impact in terms of dollars, which is great. Yep. There's also the other side of the arts creativity, the creative sector. They help us get to know our neighbors and have hard conversations and participate in community. Those are all the things we need right now, in addition to the economic impact, right? But it's really important, I think, for us to think about that intangible side of what
the
we're
soft
supporting.
tangibles that people don't give enough time and energy to.
Yeah.
That are so important. Like things, like now we're all looking for things that like warm our soul, warm our heart, give us that sense of a hyper-local community, and the arts are very much set up to be that conduit for people.
And we're lucky to live in a place where there are, name the town, and we can name a great event that brings the whole community together around the arts. I'm actually going to my own child's piano recital tonight, and the entire town will be there at the piano recital watching all the kids play the piano. So.
Which is fun. I think I actually might have been at the same recital about 6 years ago. But again, I mean, those are the kinds of things that bring vitality to our communities.
Exactly.
And so,
and you notice it when it's gone. Sometimes we don't talk enough about. It's hard to say, we need to prioritize this, we need to prioritize this, but when it's not there, you really notice. And so it's important to remember, I think, that all the great things we're talking about, they don't happen by accident here in Vermont. I mean, sure, you can, Brattleboro says it's the crystals or something, but which they actually do say, and maybe it is, who am I to say? But it's not, it's not by accident. It's because of strategic investment and support and talent across the state. Like, those are all really intentional things that we're building.
It's also the volunteer hours.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that too.
Every small town has this like core, I mean, I grew up here. I mean, something I've always loved about Vermont is every town has this core group of diehard volunteers out there, like digging into their community and like making stuff happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the great legacies of Vermont is that we have this like kind of hyper local dedicated volunteer base, which, from what I've read and I've heard from others is drying up in other parts of the country, which is really unfortunate because it's always been sort of this great grassroots part of like the American ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think we need in Vermont to make sure that that continues here too, right? That is changing over time, but even I think there is still a desire here to be part of your community and to really build something. I mean, that's the creative spirit, right? You're building things, you're making them together, and that's what we have.
Well, 3 years of really cold weather in the middle of nowhere will do wonders for your community engagement.
Yes, you will go listen to anyone play any instrument in any building, as long as it's not your house.
See others in an open space that's actually warm.
Yeah, exactly.
Highly motivating.
I was gonna say, I can't actually say that every art space in Vermont is warm, but we do run a program called the Cultural Facilities Grants that actually support facilities improvement to cultural spaces across the state.
Full disclosure, I am very personally aware of the Cultural Facilities Grant. We used it for my local town hall.
And it looks great.
And it looks great. We actually were able to open a performance space. We had a 120-year-old stage that was unusable because it had been abandoned. It was overrun by bees. And through the Vermont Arts Council and working with you guys, I did the grants. And we were able to do it ADA compliance, put in bathrooms. We actually have an elevator in our little small town,
and that's
which is very important because it made it meet ADA requirements because it wasn't grandfathered in because of disuse. And now we have plays and poetry slams and cultural events in there all the time. The pickleballers love it too, but that's okay. But it's become this incredible space of vitality. The Cultural Facility Grants, if you have a small town with any sort of spaces, it really is a gem of a grant in the state of Vermont. And again, your staff is irreplaceable in their help. You do not need grant writing experience.
It's true.
They will help you, and they'll help you formulate exactly what you need and run you through the process. It's incredible. So definitely reach out to them if you have something like that.
Please do, yes.
So I also, I wanted to, again, get back to the creative sector. And I know you guys have a couple of events coming up that I wanted to make sure that we let people know because I'm sure in Burlington there are artists and people in the creative community who are probably watching this. And I want them to be aware of upcoming events that you guys might have.
Yeah, so our biggest event that we put on every 2 years is the Vermont Creative Convening. So this year it will be in St. Albans. St. Albans has an incredibly vibrant downtown community that's really been growing and has artistic creativity at its core. So we're going to be highlighting St. Albans. It's on June 5th. It will be a full day of learning, networking, connecting, workshops. There'll be performances. Really, we're trying to, it's a conference, I should say. But
convening is so much cooler.
we're creatives putting on a conference. So even the opening has an artistic director for our opening keynote, which is not really a keynote, it's a performance, but we have an artistic director for it.
That's fun.
So it's going to be a great day. Everyone should register for that. The information's on our website. Okay. We also made registration sliding scale because we want it to be available to everyone. There's, an option that covers cost. There's an option that's totally free, and we want people to choose what's right for them.
That's amazing. So it's accessible.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we're all about.
And also go and meet your fellow creatives because we are stronger together.
Yep, and that's kind of where the magic happens, right? You never know what's going to come out of those meetings and what will be formed and the new people you'll meet.
That can last a lifetime. Exactly. It's a real thing. It's Vermont.
It's Vermont, yeah.
Well, I love that. And so is there any other things this summer or fall that people should think about for their calendar?
So we have on our website also, vermontartscouncil.org. We have the Vermont Arts Calendar, where we encourage people to send us their things to post. Some of those are our grantees or just things in the community. So if you have an arts event, please put it on our calendar. And then you can go check out the calendar. Summer in Vermont is, you might have gone to those music performances to warm up in the winter, but summer's where it really happens.
Yeah.
So there'll be tons of things happening in every community, outdoors, indoors, music, art, visual art, performance.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to do and see.
And if you haven't checked out the arts calendar, by the way, at vermontartscouncil.org, you should. It has an incredibly comprehensive, any region you are in the state of Vermont, they outline, every week there's a bunch of different activities and fun things you can do. There are also programs for kids. I know as parents, it's always nice to find things that you can take your kids to.
Yes.
In the arts that are fun, that are outside.
And that are often free.
Yeah.
Right? We want kids to have a great experience, but it is a lot to bring multiple children for a $50 ticket when they're going to sit for 10 minutes. So there's some great kid-friendly events that are happening this summer too.
Yeah, and so definitely make sure you check those out. And then the other kind of quick thing I wanted to talk about too is I wanted to see, what do you see the role of the Vermont Arts Council going in the future, in the next couple of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. We want to continue definitely doing the important funding work we're doing and grow that. We need to grow that in a steady way. One of our priorities is also increasing our role in advocacy and making sure that the arts, culture, and creativity are part of solving these big problems that we're facing as a state. Artists are creative and have creative solutions. I'm not saying we can solve everything, but we have an important role to play. We also are really focused on cross-sector partnerships. So not just artists talking to artists, which we do love, but artists talking with the healthcare community, artists talking with housing. There's great examples of a housing development in St. Johnsbury that integrated an artist studio space and an outdoor public mural. There's examples at the Howard Center Arts Collective of arts and health programming. These conversations are just starting, and I think we're really excited to keep moving those forward.
Yeah, because the arts is a really interesting way of, it's a different part of the brain. And sometimes some of the most creative solutions come out of those conversations with people who aren't necessarily in your rail or in your track.
Yeah.
And you sometimes have the most dynamic conversations and collaborations with people that don't necessarily think like you do.
Exactly.
So sponsoring those kind of collective moments where people can work together is fabulous. And in Vermont, again, we punch above our weight. We all talk to each other.
Exactly.
But bringing art into things like healthcare, the therapeutic benefits of art, which I do think is underexplored. Especially with people who have, different life-affirming care through art.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great phrase. And I think for too long, kind of the arts have been this thing that's over here or
silo.
Elite, or for
it's a silo unto itself, but every human in humanity is an artist.
Exactly. Yep. There's a creative.
You
spirit
have an artist in you. Did you know that? Every single one of you is an artist.
I agree completely.
And so find your inner artist.
Yes. Make more art. Make art together. And I think we're excited to expand that conversation around ensuring that the arts are part of everything we do here, not just something that's off to the side.
Because the arts are fun and it brings life. It brings joy.
Exactly.
It brings joy.
And complexity, right?
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard stuff too, and joy, and sometimes at the same time. And
yeah, it taps into your soul. It makes it sing. I mean, it's one of those few things that really bring joy into the world, and we all need more of that.
That is true. Yeah.
Susan, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show this month.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you right back here. I'm off in June, but I will see you right back here in July. Take care.